Good morning, everybody. And to some of you, good afternoon. We're going to let everyone drop in here over the next couple of minutes. So we'll probably get started in 3 or 4 minutes after the top of the hour here. So hope everyone's new year is starting off well. I know mine is. Rob, is yours?
22. Let's go. It's all about you. It's all about you in 22.
You come
I don't know
up
about
with
you,
that
but we always start the
yourself.
new year like, I just came up with that just now. Because the one that we actually say about 22 is like not suitable for work.
Right.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, 2022. It's pretty amazing.
Can't believe it.
Pretty amazing.
Got my good buddy, Al. Good morning, Al.
Hey, Al. But that's the thing. We've seen a lot of action in the recruiting market in just the start of the year. You know, December characteristically is very busy, and it was a little bit slower last year. But then January came in. It's just like I can't believe the amount of people we're recruiting and getting appointments for. But I mean, sometimes that's it. Maybe people just needed to tune out for a little bit at the end of 2021 and chill and eat a bunch of food and get ready for the new year. I mean, it's February next week. January gone, just like that.
All right. Should we start?
Here we go.
Sure. All right. Welcome, everybody, and Happy New Year. Happy 2022.
Happy New Year.
Hopefully you all have your plan laid out for the coming year. As Rob was just talking about, this first quarter seems to be a little bit busier in terms of recruiting. I know our business has ticked up with people coming in. Sure, Rob, your business taken up a little bit for the first part of the year?
A lot of people coming out of hibernation saying, hey, let's start getting some appointments. We're looking to get going. Let's get growing and that type of thing, which is lots of fun. I mean, I always find it's best to start January, late December, like 28th or something, Just start getting ready for the next year and get the marketing going, get any new ideas. We did a full refresh on our website over the holidays and things like that, just to make it easier for people to navigate and things like that. And I think that's an important thing to always do in the winter when you've got some time, is to have a look at your marketing and make sure everything's on side.
Well, good. Well, if you've been on a couple of our prior webinars, you notice we don't have a guest today, because what we are going to do is we are actually going to dive into some of the reporting and OnTask.
Cool.
So we'll do some screenshots. So you're not just going to have Rob and I bantering all the time, but to kind of kick it off, you know, we were talking about goals last time and setting New Year's resolutions. So Rob, tell me, you know, what resolutions do you set, and then how do you keep track of them? Because that's our topic today, keeping track of your recruiting goals.
Yeah, I think if you're going to set any kind of goals for yourself, whether it's for sales or recruiting or growth or things like that, being held accountable or holding yourself accountable can be difficult. You know, the old adage of, you know, write a Post-it note down every week and stick it on your mirror and that'll be your goal for the week kind of a thing still works. But when it comes to actually practically implicating that, I think that people need to maybe have a look at, you know, implementing a service where they've got someone helping them. You know, one of the things I like about our service is that we can see when one of our clients isn't following up on the leads that we sent them. And that's one of the things I think that we're going to cover today, is when you start looking at the data associated with a recruiting campaign, if you don't have stuff going out, if you're not actually pushing forward with things, there's nothing going on. And if there is nothing going on, then how are you going to recruit anybody, right? And so I think that's a major step that a lot of people, you know, that aren't maybe focused on growth need to take, is being held accountable, right? Being held accountable for these goals, because a lot of the time people are running an office or they own an office, they're still selling. So if you're still selling real estate, how do you have time to call realtors? Bottom line, really, and to actually reach out and set appointments and things like that. And how are you going to hold yourself accountable? You're too busy holding yourself accountable for sales goals and the sales goals of your team and things like that. And so I think what you got to show everybody today with, you know, having a look at what it looks like from the back end of OnTask gives people a clear picture of how to hold yourself accountable, really.
Yep. Well, let's jump into that.
Let's dive in.
Walk through. This is a reporting part in OnTask, and a lot of people, I don't think, really know that this feature is out there. So I wanted to cover it today. So assuming I have some technical skills here, let me see if I can do this. So,
I feel like
all
I should
right.
have there we go, a
All
drum
right,
roll
can you
sample.
see it?
Nice. Looks great. That is the
So-
easiest dashboard to navigate. My goodness.
So for those of you who are on task clients, you'll notice that this is your dashboard here. And for those of you who aren't yet, when you do log in, this is a dashboard. You can see you got all your agent searches over here, co-brokes, all that. But if you look up to the upper left side here, there's a feature called reports. And I don't think a lot of people click on that. So that's what we're going to go through today, because it's really a great tool to not only hold yourself accountable, but if you have a recruiter, if you have managers in satellite offices that are supposed to be calling, or if you hire Rob's team, you can really find out the details of what they are doing in terms of texting, emailing, calling. You can actually track the conversations. So, instead of sitting down once a week, once a month and saying, hey, Rob, how's your recruiting going? And Rob is like, hey, we're doing all right. I've made about, I don't know, a couple dozen phone calls. I mean, that's really not enough detail to go on. So if you are on task, you click on this reports button, and what you're going to get is this wonderful graph here. And you can see up in the upper right here, you can set different date ranges. You can download in Excel a report, which I have already, and I'm going to show you that. But this just gives you a quick contact. This is a report I ran for one of our actual clients for the month of December. And as you can see, 742 recruits were contacted. And then you look at the calls, the emails, and the texts, and you're like, well, wait a minute, how come you have 742 contacted, but you have 818 calls and all this? Well, obviously, you're going to call people more than once or email them more than once. So this is the specific agent count, and then this is the multiple touches you do, and we'll get into the details. And of course, this outlines a nice graph of all the activity. And as you can see, this particular client is using ProBroker agencies. Do I get that right? I always mess it up with Rob. I feel
You got it right.
Once you get on something, you can't. So you can see, Rob's crew here is really making a lot of calls. They're averaging about 40 calls a day, minus the weekends, of course. I'm just going to pop over to this one. So this was another one of our clients, unnamed. Again, they were using Rob's services up until the middle of January. And then for whatever reason, budgetary concerns or whatever, or maybe they thought they could do it in-house. Who knows? But you can see the calls dramatically dropped off here. And you can say, well, what happened? And I'm not trying to make a pitch for Rob necessarily, but, to be sitting here making 25 to 30 calls a day, that takes a concerted effort. And as Rob was pointed out, a manager has a lot of things on their plates. They're looking at compliance issues. They might be looking at some sales. They got to motivate the teams. They got to meet people individually. So if you're going to really kind of focus on 25 to 30 calls a day, and you do not want to hire a recruiter, we do have those services through Rob, where you can, on a month-to-month deal for 20 hours a month, hire somebody to make these calls. And again, it's through a local number. So anyway, you'll notice we got this report here, and you can download it. So I'm going to click over to what the downloaded report looks like. Rob, can you see that? You got to make sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is the raw data that you will get in OnTask. And like I said, this is the real power here. So here are the dates that this type of contact was made. So you can see there's a lot of calls here. This is who is making the call. So Tanya actually works at ProBroker Agency. So she is actually making these phone calls. And then if there's an appointment that was set. So for instance, she might get somebody on the line. They're like, yes, I want to talk to the managing broker. I want to find out what the value proposition on. And so she'll go and set the appointment in OnTask, which will end up on that person's to-do list. So you can go through this and you can see, here are the calls made, here are the appointments set. And then the real power here is, who is she calling, or who is your manager or your recruiter calling? That's obviously over here in column H. So you can quickly go down and you can see all of the agents that were called. And we're going to drill down into one of these in particular so you can really see some of the power. Now, what we are working on, when you download this report, you're going to get the raw data. I have our programmers working on creating a pivot table that ties into that, so it has a lot more functionality. And some of the screenshots you're going to see are already formatted. That's probably going to be another month at least. But if you have someone that is somewhat knowledgeable of Excel, they can do everything that I'm doing literally in 5 minutes. And if you don't, you can call Rob. Now you can actually
Absolutely.
call me. So one of the summary points is, again, you can summarize everything by day. So, you know, are some days busier than another? This is just another report here. So you can see, you know, appointments. This is on the 10th here. 2 appointments were made, 18 calls were made. Again, very powerful. You can go down further. You can say, let's look at individual agents. Of all the agents that were contacted in the month of December, give me that list. So I'll just look at this Carol Gephardt here. You can see during the month of December, she was called 5 times. You know, that's a lot of activity. You can scroll down. You can see what appointments were set. So this Joan Curcio here, right? 2 phone calls, obviously, you know, maybe the first call wasn't answered. The second call she did, boom, you got an appointment, right? And that should be on the thing. So it's very, very powerful tool that you can go through and you can find out if it's you that you want to hold accountable, if it's one of your branch managers, or even if you have Rob calling, you're like, you know, is the money I'm giving Rob's company worth it? Well, you can certainly see what they are doing here. And then you can obviously do it by recruiter. This company only had Rob and the managing broker. Some of our clients have, you know, multiple offices. And so this list over here, they might have 8 or 9 people calling. And with this report here, you can go in as a managing broker and you can say, what is going on? So you can see Tanya here, who again works for Rob, but was hired through us for this particular client. She made 460 phone calls in the month of December. She actually sent 1 text and she set up 11 appointments for the managing broker to talk to these agents.
In December.
In December. This is just the month of December. And as you know, the last week of December is pretty much shot, right? It's hard to get a hold of people. And you can see the recruiter made 4 calls. Now, they have to log the call, because if you're not logging the call, you're not that data is not going to be in here. Now I'm going to pop out of this and I am going to go into this sheet again. So, and I'm going to just show you again what ends up in OnTask. So for instance, this is a particular contact card for an agent that was called, etc. And I just want you to look through the detail here. So when you go through this report and you're like, okay, I want to look up Natasha Miner here because a lot of calls were made for her to her, and there was maybe an appointment set. So you can go look at the contact card, and I'm just going to point out some of the data here. So you'll notice here at the bottom where it says Christopher, this agent actually was across the table. She was a co-broker on this particular deal. So you can see 1161 Tatum Wood, the date, the amount, and this Christopher was your agent on your roster who she actually did the deal with. When that happens, that actually pops up either on your dashboard as a managing broker, or if you assign the high 5, this is this is the co-broke module, this will pop up as something that you can act on. Okay, now let's kind of go up. Now look up here. Here is the call that Tanya made, and she logged this in OnTask, as do all of Rob's people, and you should. And if you have people recruiting in your office, they should put these notes in here. But you can see she called. She put her notes in here that this month wasn't going to work. She asked if the managing broker, I kind of blew out his name there, could give her a call around January 3rd. And she agreed that that worked. So boom, an appointment was set. And then what does Tanya do immediately, or what you or any of your recruiters should do? You can see right here, there was a scheduled appointment set up by Tanya for the 15th. Okay. That just gives you one idea of what's on the contact card. I'm going to go through another one here. So again, this is Natasha Miner. Okay, so let's say you now have the appointment and you want to call her. Well, it would be nice to not only look at the notes from what Tasha was talking about, but maybe you want to get an idea of some of this agent's activity. Well, look at all of the information that OnTask supplies you. So when you call Natasha, you can just bring up her recent activity here. We don't bring it all up. I believe this is limited to the last 30 days or so. So you can see she's got an active listing here. She's got 2 properties under contract. So now when you call to make that recruiting pitch, you can actually do a little bit more to connect with her by just saying, hey, it's Rob, would you like to come work for my office, right? You can actually, it makes her feel like you're following her and you're interested in her, because that is what motivates agents. If you can convince an agent that you're there to help them grow their business, and you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have some talking points to point out some of these deals that she's working on. Another very
100%.
powerful tool. I'm going to just do a couple more here, Rob, and we'll go through. Here is another one. Now look at all of the calls that were made to this other agent, prospective target, this Nicole McGinnis. Okay, so she called on the 1st, she called on the 3rd, she called on the 9th, and actually got a hold of her, but the connection was bad, which she logged in here. Called again, didn't get an answer. So then guess what? She texted. She went ahead and texted the agent again through OnTask and said all of this. This is Tanya. Again, she doesn't say I'm calling on behalf of Pro Broker Agency. She says, I'm calling on behalf of you, the managing broker. This happens to be a RE/MAX office. She has a little script that she will work with you, the managing broker, to go over. And she tries to get an appointment set up. Okay. So that's another activity. I'm going to go through 2 more. This Lindsay, we had her on a podcast, didn't we have Lindsay on a podcast?
We did, absolutely. Superstar Lindsay. Yeah.
So she's another one of the Pro Broker Agency employees. And look at all of the activity that Lindsay did. You know, text. She received a text, right? Just a lot of interaction, all of which you can track, and you can see the progression on how it works. Again, most of you know this, but you can see what the volumes are. I'm going to show you one other thing. I don't know if you guys, again, know about it, but we have a little button that says, show me the personality. Let me see if I have it on here on the dashboard. Contact card. There, you can barely see it, and it looks like our boys in India misspelled it, but you click that button and that shows you a personality if they have a social media site, mainly LinkedIn. If they don't have a LinkedIn site, the algorithm that of this joint venture or this agreement we have with this company can't go out there and predict their personality. But if they do, it will bring up, and this is just a snippet of what their personality is and kind of what things you should or should not say. So in addition to the recent listings, closings, you could actually click on this personality thing, and it's very accurate. But, you know, what tone do you use? What things do you want to say? What things do you not want to say? Again, very powerful tools that we have in OnTask to help you keep track of your accountability or your managing brokers and your other offices, or if you hire Rob. So that's kind of the big thing we wanted to cover today. I'm going to stop the screen share we're happy to take any questions. And like I said, this is active and out there right now.
One of the things I love about that, Paul, is even if they're not using one of our executive recruiters, and they've got someone making calls in the office, that graph gives a pretty clear picture of what the outreach is like on a daily basis, right? And you can actually go in there and review with your team and say, okay, so how come this part of the month we're doing this many calls, and then this part of the month we're not doing any calls? Oh, well, that's when he's got to take care of this, and et cetera. And you can have a look at your systems and really see, is it working? Is it the best effective use of your time, and that type of thing. And one of the things we actually add to the package with OnTask, if we start doing calls for brokerages, every day we send as you know, Paul, a daily report that's written by the recruiter. And that report kind of supplements the data that comes with OnTask, and it's more of like a personalized touch where it holds your team accountable. And geez, sometimes we've got 3 or 4 different people doing recruiting appointments for brokerages. This way we can hold them accountable and give them good notes to then be prepared for the appointments that we set or that are set through OnTask. And I think that's another thing that it just, with recruiting, it's kind of like marketing. I think a lot of people, like I was talking about refreshing our website, things like that, recruiting kind of gets shuffled into that, oh, we'll get around to it sometime soon thing. And I think when you've got tools like this out there doesn't really need to be any time. You don't need to wait. You just got to get started,
And it's efficient. It's easy. It was easy to use. We upload all of the agents through our relationships with Terradatum. Of all the agents in your MLS, you can sort through them. You can look for trends going up, down, whatever. You actually put together a target list, and that target list you could send to one of Rob's callers or one of your managing brokers and say, this is the group of whatever, 200 agents I want to target. And then you can kind of see the progression of the activity that has been done to try to recruit those individuals. And we were pointing out, all the information in front of you. So the tools are there, right? You just got to go use them. Kind of like the gym. You join 24-hour fitness, not going to do anything unless you go there, right? So
exactly, absolutely. We use parallels with the gym and fitness and diets and things like that all the time when it comes to recruiting, because it's the hard work. It's the stuff that you don't want to do. I mean, I never talk about it on these podcasts, but back in 2020, I lost 60 pounds. Well, you know why? Because I went outside and ran every day. I've been running 2 or 3 times a week since then, And I mean, it's like, holding yourself accountable to goals is an important thing. But again, having someone else help you with that can be good. Having someone else send you leads can be good. And I mean, that's one of the things I think with OnTask we didn't even touch on is there's a free trial of OnTask for 30 days with the software. Our calls just are $800 a month for calls every day, and if you're going to do calls with us and use the OnTask software, you can usually expect 2 to 3 appointments a week, which is pretty good for an hour of calls a day. And we can get 2 or 3 appointments a week for clients of ours, and clients of Paul's, chances are you're going to recruit 2 or 3 people a month, So
let me put your
website.
Effort. I'll put your website out there.
Sure.
There you go. Do I got it right? You make sure I got it right. I'm just not
Pro Broker Agency.
And I'll put mine out there. This is kind of our landing site.
Is it OnTask Associates? Is that?
Yeah. So there's ours. And like I said, this is up and running. You download the general report. If you need some guidance on, creating a pivot table to get some of the reports I show you, I'm happy to just reach out to me. I'll put my email in here. And then obviously I encourage you to reach out to Rob because as we saw when that one client dropped the services, the touch points to the agents went way down. And we all know, if you're not making the calls, the emails, et cetera, you're just not going to recruit. All our services are month to month, which means they can be canceled. You hire a recruiter, you're not going to be able to hire someone for month to month in-house, right? You're not going to have a W-2 employee that you're going to do with that. That's why we're like, initially you might think $800 is expensive. It's not. Okay.
Especially when you cover it off by hiring a couple of recruits. That's the thing. And that's why, our business works and our business model works and people love working for us is it's performance oriented, and if we're not getting results, then hey, we're not going to be doing calls for you anymore. So that's why we're super laser being focused on developing relationships with people like Paul, who have good data and systems that help us help people
Right.
grow, and always happy to talk to anybody if you need help or ideas about recruiting. I used to be the top recruiter in Canada for Remax. Now I've had this company for 10 years and we've been working with Paul for over a couple of years now. So a lot of fun working in the real estate industry.
Rob@theprobroker.com.
It's me. And 604-868-6767.
So
Awesome.
again, hold yourself accountable. We are here to help. This podcast will be recorded and put out there. You'll get a notification on what the YouTube link is. We encourage you to forward it on. If you are a recruiter and you're trying to get your managing broker to look at the success you have been doing, you can use these reports, but we're here to help. So
there's going to be a link below this video as well where they can click and sign up for a free consultation. So please do if you're just watching the video.
All right. See you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.